Good morning. Welcome to Yoga with Cheryl. I wanted to take this practice back to sort of the roots of yoga. Sometimes I will do something that for some people watching will say that's not yoga. And I guess what I would like to say is anything can support our yoga practice as long as its intention is for lifting us up and for lifting up others. Now, if we take it back to the original yoga text, and yoga, the Sanskrit word for yoga is yug, Y-U-G, and that means to yoke in English. When Patanjali spoke of this, it really comes back to our yoga practice allowing us to discover who we are as our highest self, not this body, not this mind, not this house, not the label that I wear, but really to discover it's a practice of self-realization. And if anything that we're doing on all of these videos helps to point you in that direction, then why not, right? This practice, I want to take it back though to some of the basics and to really just scale it back to what yoga means for me. And for me, yoga allows me to discover who I am at my essence. And that means that I may not even have to do any particular asana outside of sitting. And so today's practice will be taking it back to the initial words in my translation of Patanjali. And that is that our yoga practice is meant to be easeful and steady and to point us towards self-realization. And that doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be complicated postures. It doesn't have to be complicated breath work. Really, it means allowing us to come to a still point within ourselves. So without any further ado, I'm just going to take you through my practice and see if that somehow helps point you into a place that creates space and a place that helps you discover who you are beyond the mental, beyond the physical, and a sense of being whole and complete just as you are. So please get comfortable in a seated position. Maybe you're sitting on the floor. If you are, ensure that your spine is elegant and dignified. That may mean sitting forward on a bolster, such as I'm sitting, or maybe sitting towards the front of your chair. And then if it feels comfortable for you, inviting you to let your eyelids lightly close, or just have your gaze down turned through the slits of your eyes, as long as it doesn't mean folding forward. And ask yourself, what brought you to the mat today? Was it a drawing or a pulling of something, just knowing that it serves a higher part of yourself? That once you do practice, you feel more at ease and more steady in your everyday life, in your mind, in your body. That somehow you remember who you are. Outside of the chaos of the external world that never really can permeate who you are. Remember this. So inviting you to touch on that quiet place that is always within. And offer yourself to that place, that placeless place, that spaceless place that is ever present. And if it feels comfortable for you and appropriate for you, I'll invite you to join me in the sacred sound of Aum. And if it doesn't feel comfortable, then you don't practice it. For me, there's something that happens with that vibration. I feel connected to something outside or beyond myself that really is myself. So I'm pointing to and speaking around these things that are so difficult to describe because words just do not suffice. But if practicing and chanting Aum helps to point you in that direction, please join in. Taking a breath in. Inviting you to sit in the silence of the vibration. To align with its frequency. And although I don't always or often say these words out loud, I feel them in my heart and I say them silently, that each and every time I come to the mat, I dedicate my practice to the well-being of others, to all, without exclusion. And so if that feels appropriate for you, I invite you to also share your practice with others. No strings attached, not needing anything to change to make that offering. No contingency plan. May this practice benefit all. And take a deep breath into your lungs. And exhale, release, sigh audibly through your mouth. Feel any weight or worries dissipate. And I like to do things in groups of 3. So perhaps do that again, focusing on breathing right into the back of your lungs. And letting it go. Third and final time, breathing in deeply. Feel the capacity of your lungs without causing strain. And release. And now allow your lips to lightly touch, keeping your teeth slightly apart, softening the tongue within the mouth, right at its root, right at its base. And start to pay attention to how the breath is moving in your body right now. Just noticing. Where do you feel it most evidently? And please don't judge it if it's up high in your chest or wherever it's at. Just noticing, here it is, this is where I feel it. Allowing that to be your beginning point to settle the mind. Anchor your mind in the experience of feeling that breath, not changing it, simply in observing it. Notice how this begins to guide you inwards. Feeling the subtleness of the movements of the lungs, maybe the nostrils, maybe the muscles surrounding, connecting the rib cage. Now, as you notice, we'll intentionally see if we can experience the breath through the various places in our lungs. We'll start, though, by moving our awareness to the area of your nostrils. Feel the sensation of the breath at the area of your nostrils. What does the temperature feel like as it moves in comparison to the temperature when it moves out? Perhaps one is cooler than the other. Stabilizing the mind in this changing temperature. Now begin to trace or follow the trace of the breath up through the canals of the nostrils on both the left and the right side. Maybe feeling first the left, and then the right, and then feeling both simultaneously. And know that these sensations are always present, we just aren't present to them. This ability to turn towards the body and its sensations to eventually transcend the body. And in transcending the body, we start to discover who we really are. Now start to notice that breath not only through the channels of the nostrils, but as it touches the back of the throat. Again, a sensation that is always present, but we often aren't present to it. practice of mindfulness and awareness is paying attention to the moment as it is. Feel these sensations as they are, through the nostrils, hitting the back of the throat. Traveling back out. Remain present with these sensations. Continue that journey of discovery. And let's feel the breath as it travels through both nostrils, hits the back of the throat, and now let's take it all the way down to the base of the lungs. Begin to visualize the base of your lungs, right down near your floating ribs at the front. And pay particular attention today to the back of your lungs. One thing that we know and has been expressed for those people that are having breathing challenges, especially for those diagnosed with COVID-19, is we need to pay a little bit more attention to the way that we breathe into the back of our lungs. In the hospitals, they're actually encouraging people for their rehabilitation to lay on their bellies, to lay prone. They're calling it proning. To breathe more into the back of your lungs. So take a moment here to visualize the back of your lungs, in the back of the body, around the back of your rib cage. And feel the breath massaging the back of the lungs. Maybe massaging doesn't seem like an appropriate word for you. Feel it cascading in to the back of your lungs. Whatever word seems appropriate. You may even start to notice the undulation of your rib cage. See if you can pay a little bit more mindful attention to not only the base and the back of the lungs, but the breathing through the circumference of your lungs. And I'll bring my hands forward to perhaps represent the motion that can be visualized or felt as you breathe in and breathe out. Enhancing with the in-breath. Softening with the out-breath. And if this is a breath work that you're not familiar with, or perhaps you've been shallow breathing, you might start to feel lightheaded. So be gentle with yourself. Perhaps gently taking a break and coming back to this breath work. Ensure that you're continuing to breathe in a healthy way. Sometimes we do something that is called reverse breathing. We want to ensure we're not doing that. So as you breathe in, ensure that you're expanding your rib cage and your abdomen. And as you breathe out, feeling the navel come closer to the spine. Inhaling expansion. Exhaling, releasing. Feeling the abdominal muscles gently expand as you breathe in and contract as you breathe out. Expand as you breathe in, contract as you breathe out. See if you can follow the continuity of the breath from the nostrils into the base of the lungs, the back of the lung, and back out as the navel comes to spine and the breath leaves through the nose. Inhaling and exhaling. Do that a few more times, following the entire continuity of the breath. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Now release that controlled breathing. Notice how you feel. More stable within yourself. More easeful and steady. And perhaps gently open your eyes. Take in the world in this steady and easeful way. And begin to just bring a little bit of movement, especially if you've been sitting cross-legged. Just gently stretch out your legs very gently, maybe gently massage them. Maybe your feet have become a little numb. Maybe massage those too. Move them as you continue to be aware of the breathing, being aware of this moment. Maybe some ankle circles, maybe some spreading of the toes, maybe some gentle fists with your feet. Again, whatever feels appropriate for whatever is being experienced in your body. And we will be continuing to sit. If you need to adjust your seat or come to sitting in a chair. Bring your hands and begin to rub them together. Create some friction. And then allow these hands with their heat to be cupped over your eyes. No need to touch your eyes, but just feel that heat radiate in. And do that again. A little more self-care this morning. And just let that radiate in. And take your fingers to the inner edges of your eyebrows and gently massage. You might be aware of some tension that is there. Just gently massaging. Be careful on your temples. We come up to the hairline. Massaging in a way that feels effective to release some of those tight spots. Maybe in the scalp. You remember to be easeful and steady in your practice today. And perhaps drop this idea of when you come to the mat, you have to move a lot. That is certainly not what Patanjali meant when he talked about practicing yoga. In fact, my understanding is Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, the only posture that he mentioned is asana, which means to take a seat. So as you take a seat, just offering yourself this practice of self-care of some massage. Maybe moving into your arms, your neck, maybe giving yourself a hug. We could all use a little bit more of those hugs. Maybe letting your fingers gently touch your scapula and perhaps roll the shoulders and gently move the neck. Again, this is an individualized practice. Yoga is very individual. To yoke is the translated word in English. Maybe let that chin gently roll from one end of the collarbone to the other. Being very easeful. And then as it comes towards the right tip of the collarbone, just like you're almost looking down towards your right knee, perhaps let that left shoulder draw down just gently. Maybe the left fingertips touch the floor or the edge of your chair. Gently sweep that chin down, tracing the collarbone slowly over to the other side, keeping the chin looking down now towards your left knee. Maybe dropping the right shoulder a little more. Maybe it extends out to the floor. Letting the breath be easeful and steady. Continue feeling into the sensations of the breath moving in your lungs. Knowing that that breath is carrying prana, that life-giving energy. Breath is just a vehicle for prana. Food is also full of prana. Come back to center, please. The sun, prana. So in any way we can intentionally absorb prana for our health and our well-being. Throughout this practice, continuing to absorb prana in your breath. So bringing that chin back to center. And let's take our fingertips and interlace them nice and close. And as you inhale, revolve your palms away, reach up, just to wherever is appropriate for your shoulders. If bringing them right above your head is available, feel free to do that. We don't want to feel pinching, but nor do you want to feel like you're shoving your shoulder blades down. So just kind of allow some freedom here of movement. Take a deep breath in and you'll be able to breathe a little bit more into the capacity of your lungs with the arms elevated. Really feel and absorb. Be present with. Make no judgment about. And maybe hinge slightly over to one side. Breathing in to your rib cage on the exposed side a little bit more. Inhale through center, up and over to the other side. We always create space in our vertebra. So we find that space before we move. Inhale back up through and exhale, release those arms. Spread your wings wide, reach wide, reach wide, reach wide. Stopping just below the shoulders, soften the elbows slightly, lift your heart. And then revolve your palms down. Let your right fingers touch the earth. Inhale, sweep the left arm up, or right fingers can touch your chair. We'll do this a little bit more fluidly with a little more speed. Inhale and exhale. Just let you rock from side to side in concert with your breath. And please come back to center. Finish the side that you're on. Inhale down to the base of your lungs. And as you exhale, rotate over to one side through that tall lifted spine, just to the first place of sensation. Taking a look over the back shoulder. Remember, if it feels like you're not easeful or steady, back off. Let the breath be your guiding light today. Let it be what is paramount to your practice. Pointing the way to moving inwards and upwards. Inhale through center. And on the exhalation, over to the other side. Inhale, center. And exhale. Inhale, elevate your arms to shoulder height, palms facing down. And as you exhale, bring your arms behind you and maybe interlace your fingers, open your chest, or perhaps the idea of that movement coming into a little bit of a back bend. Feeling your breath. And release back to center. Remove your bolster or readjust your seat so that you can take your hands on your shins. Let me just check to make sure my mic is still on. As some of you know, I have that ongoing challenge. Perfect. We're still a go. And taking the hands on the shins or behind the thighs to allow some intentional rounding of the spine. Let yourself kind of roll back into posterior tilt. And then as you inhale, rocking forward, anterior tilt, lifting the chest. And please continue that in concert with your breath. Remembering that we are utilizing this body to transcend the body. Thankful for the way that it moves, but not attaching to it. We can practice yoga without any movement at all. Remembering that yoga is union with yourself, and that doesn't require any movement at all. But if you move and it feels good, then we do that. Let's extend our left leg forward. Draw the right knee into the chest, sitting nice and tall. Inhale, continuing to hold that right knee in. You're going to actually open your chest to the wide open space to the left. Come back through center and take that right foot and cross it over the left leg. Inhale again to find height, and exhale to find that rotation in your spine, not forcing, but feeling and breathing. And keeping the chin parallel to the floor. Maybe closing the eyes, looking past the right corners of the eyes. Remembering that you don't have to move at all. You can breathe and be present with your breath at any time in this practice and still be practicing yoga. Let's come back to center and switch sides, lengthening leg down, draw the left knee in. Inhale, sit tall, right toes to the sky. And on an exhalation, opening to the right, opening wide, keeping your shoulders parallel, the breath even. Come back to center, cross that left foot over the right knee, hold the shin, get tall. Remember, we only ever rotate from an elevated, spacious spine. And on the exhalation, over to the left. Finding your breath, following it through its entire rhythm. Come back through center. Draw the soles of both feet close together. Maybe holding the toes, the ankles, or the knees. Come back to your breath. Remembering that the point here is to be present in whatever you're doing. Mindfully present. Paying attention to this moment with its subtleties, its sensations, its sounds. Helping your knees together, letting your legs lengthen out. Bring your fingertips behind you, lift your chest. Present with breath sensations. And then inviting you to come to seated. You're like, I already am seated. Prop yourself up to be seated. To come back into focusing specifically on this moment with the breath. Releasing any controlled breathing, any forceful breathing. Allow yourself to be absorbed. And for me, this practice of yoke or union is a practice of absorption, immersion into the ever-present flow of the now. Allow the body to simply be here. Certainly allowing yourself to create a degree of comfort, especially if the mind has difficulty observing the sensations without creating stories or being drawn into them. This is really why we practice asana, is to move the body so that it can be comfortable when it comes time to sit for meditation, to practice the higher limbs of yoga, those last 4 limbs of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. Mind you, none of them are ever being practiced in isolation. But let's see if we can bring a little bit more awareness to the practice of concentration. The 6th limb of Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. And perhaps the entire practice today has helped to enhance that ability to concentrate in a relaxed way. So we don't want to feel a sense of gripping here. It's a relaxed concentration on this moment. And that practice of concentration eventually slips into the practice of meditation. At some point, this will feel seamless. And perhaps with a disciplined practice, eventually samadhi. It's essential that we don't try too hard. Trying too hard to concentrate moves us away from the initial intention of being easeful and steady. Allow yourself to feel easeful and steady. You may find it effective to bring and lightly shift your awareness to the space beyond the crown of your head. Just slightly above your head. We refer to this as Sahasrara. Noticing this space as being boundless. If you find the mind is not particularly agreeable, come back to lightly following the breath. Give it this anchor to feel the breath move in and feel the breath move out. And as it moves out, again, if you need this anchor point to stop the mind from jumping around, lightly tracing the breath in from the nostrils all the way down to the base of the spine. And tracing the breath out, but this time out through the crown of your head. Allow this effort to be very light. Eventually resting in this space beyond the crown, this ever-present and unchanging space. To discover who you really are. Allow yourself to yoke with the universal flow. Inviting you to stay if you find this practice effective, and return to it again and again. begin to allow the mind to come back into the sensations of the physical form, to feel the breath moving in the lungs. The breath probably became very light. So let's see if we can invite a little more oxygen in. And because we live on this earth, we do need to interact with it. And we can do so without losing sight of who we really are. So as you're feeling the breath move in this physical form that brings you around the world, even in your corner of the world, offer a grateful thought for this body that allows you to practice, to move, to be present. Let's take another breath in and release it out. And begin when you're ready to open your eyes. And if it feels appropriate to draw your palms together at your heart, again, to conclude with a sense of gratitude. Gratitude to yourself for showing up. Gratitude for the body, for allowing us to utilize it, to transcend it as a vehicle to get us from A to B, and then eventually we recognize we didn't need the vehicle at all. We are always and ever will be presence itself. Thank you.